All right, it is time for another episode of the audio project with Deena Tierney, but it's our athlete series, which is now my new favorite series because it brings so much energy and life and practicality, I think, to the day-to-day of anyone's career, their business as an entrepreneur, and just in life in general. And today I have a very special guest, Jen Hintnaus. She is Z Fit. She owns Z Fit by Jen, and she has a lot of nicknames, including Jenergy, which I love. That's my favorite. In addition to Zumba Jen or whatever else, you generate all that energy for people through your name. So I think that's amazing. So great to have you here. And so Jennifer, thank you so much for taking time to stop by the office and meet with me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. So I want to hear first of all, I have to say I've never done Zumba.
Okay.
I know a lot of people who have done it and are passionate and love it. And I'm embarrassed to say I haven't because I'm into like all sorts of fitness classes and stuff. So I want to hear how you got started in Zumba, and I want to learn more about your business.
Okay. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited about Zumba, and I always have been really interested in dancing like my whole entire life. And I had a neighbor that was a fitness instructor, and I would always see her leave, and she had the cutest outfits on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Mom, please, can I just go with her once? So one day she invited me, and so I went. So that was like when I was 11 all the way through till now. And as far as working out every day. So I was a member at 24 Hour Fitness in Hawaii Kai, and I always do classes like kickbox, step, and all that stuff. So all of a sudden Zumba came to Hawaii, and I saw it one day, and I walked by, and it was the class before. It was going on the class before. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. It looks so much fun. And then I couldn't get in the door. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so intimidated. Like, I don't know the moves, and what if I can't do it? And oh my gosh. So the next day I went and took the class, and her name was Dawn. And the music started for the warm-up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I looked around the room, and there was every age, every size. I mean, amazing. And everyone was smiling. So I was like, okay, here we go. So the warm-up starts, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. So I'm like, Jen, just control yourself. So there's usually about 17 songs in each 1 hour class. And I'm like, okay, I can get through the warm-up. So then the next song, and then the next song, and then basically I had like tears running. Like I looked like Lucille Ball. Like they must have thought I was so weird, but I loved it. I never missed a class there after that. And so then someone said, you have to become an instructor. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do that. And they're like, yes, you can. Your passion for Zumba is so exciting that like we are following you. Like we're not even, so I'm like, okay.
Oh, cool.
So I got certified, and then I was super nervous, and I worked for United Airlines, and they had a section where they said you can not work for a little bit. And so my husband said, okay, you cannot work for United for 2 months if you start teaching Zumba. Like you have to do it, because I was like saying, I can't do it. So I finally did it, and it changed my life. From that very first class, I was like, I'm doing this. And then the women started coming, and the men, and it's so exciting.
That's very cool. It's great that you had supporters and people that encouraged you and saw within you this amazing passion that you have, and believed in you, which is amazing. That's super great. So tell me about where your business is now, because I know you've got an amazing following. You've got a whole army of people that I'm sure follow you around. Tell me about how that's going and how that really came to be.
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. My first class was at the Oahu Country Club, or the Oahu Club in Hawaii Kai. And then from there, a lady said, no one ever uses the Hawaii Kai stage. Like, why don't you just go talk to the manager? Like right now, after you finish this class, just go straight over there and ask them, like, this is never used. It's used 2 weekends a year for the band, or something, Christmas time. So I went in and I said, hi, is there any way I could use the stage? And they said, absolutely, that would be fabulous. And then people would come. So that's how it started. And so I started teaching at the Hawaii Kai Town Center almost 12 years ago.
Wow.
And I've been teaching about 6 to 8 classes a week. So then a bunch of women from all over the world started coming and visiting, and like from Korea and Japan, and the amazing changes I've seen they would just be walking by shopping, and then they're like, can I try? And I'm like, absolutely. And then they got hooked, and then they went from this to this, they were just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting that you can visibly see people getting excited and getting more confident and like really enjoying that 1 hour of being outside. So anyway, I've got invited to go to like Tokyo and Ginza, and every year we've gone to Tokyo to teach Zumba, and they sponsor me, and I've had a lot of beautiful opportunities through teaching.
Okay, so for the person out there that's never done Zumba like me, tell me, how long would it take hearing that there's a Japanese tourist walking by and they're like, can I try that class? Like, that's just amazing to me. They're way more brave than I am. So I'm like, that's pretty impressive. So how long does it take a person like that to like get, maybe not to your level, but to get to be, operating?
So for my class I would say is very friendly. It's very, it's not super hard. And I have a lot of really, grapevines up and back, some really nice turns and stuff. But the music is what drives it. So I would say one class is plenty. And by the next class, you're like, okay. And most people say, I can't do it. I'm going to go the wrong way or whatever. It is so awesome and welcomed. We have the most amazing, empowering group of women that show up every single day. It's just like 40 new friends.
That's cool.
It is.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So when you started at the stage in Hawaii Kai, how many people showed up? Like, was it big from the start, and was it an instant success? Like, how did that go?
It's super quick. So it was about, I had some people that followed me over from the other club that I was teaching. Mm-hmm. So I would say like 15 to 20. And then after that, it was like 30 to 40, and then it was averaging 60 people, and I felt like I was at a concert, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the one up on the stage. It was so crazy. Like I can't even look. Like I get so nervous still to this day, but it's so awesome. I just look up, and then and then every time I come back to the class, they're stoked. Yeah. So it's fun.
Do you feel like that's how you built your business, or how do you feel like you built that following? Was it obviously the state, the location played a role, and the visibility played a role, but obviously your personality is great, but what else do you think was a really important factor in building up your following, building up your business to the way that it is now?
Definitely word of mouth. I have really, the Hawaii Kai Town Center put a few posters up around, like by Starbucks and stuff like that. And then mostly people hearing the music and then just being drawn to the stage and then looking and then saying like, I think I can do that, or I can't do that. And then they'd come and talk to me and they ask, questions and stuff. But for me, it's really about, my consistency and showing up. Showing up is really the key. And I worked for United Airlines for 32 years. I just retired. And the airline industry is you are on time and you show up. There's no option. And this for me is, I just use that same game plan to my classes are consistent. I start at 9 and I end at 10. That is not even a minute off. So I think consistency, I think word of mouth, I'm really excited about it. So when people ask, I'm ready to get them in the class, and then they tell someone, and that's I think how I did it.
That makes sense. And it sounds like you have a lot of discipline. The airline parallel is really cool.
It's brute. Yeah, it's good.
On time, guys. On time.
We're an airline.
Yeah, That's cool. That's awesome. So recently, I read a book called Coaching Conversations, and that our company, Pacific Point, we're a Salesforce consulting firm, which means that we work with a lot of businesses, public sector and commercial businesses, and help them implement technology, specifically Salesforce, that helps them, improve their businesses. And in that, in our business at Pacific Point, we have teams of people. And we have a lot of consultants that work for our company, and we all play different roles, and we work together to accomplish, our goals for our customers. And so I recently read this book about coaching conversations because I'm really ramping up leaders and managers at our company and wanting to help them get to their next level as managers.
Yes.
But in this book, it really talks about how you can have this mind shift from being a manager yourself and really shifting that to being a coach, viewing yourself as a coach. And when I think about your role, it's very, instructor in my mind is always a coach. I mean, I did step classes. When you said grapevine, I was like, oh my gosh, that takes me back. But, but my coach, I had so much respect for my coach. And I always felt like a coach is someone who is always trying to bring out the best in you and looking at challenging you, believing in you. And so I wanted to see if you had any stories for our audience of managers. A lot of us are managers. How do we become a coach like you? What are the stories that you've had where you really excelled at bringing out the best in others and taking them to their next level, believing in them?
I have so many.
Yeah.
I have so many. It's crazy.
Got some time. Just kidding.
Oh my God. I mean, it is like the number one thing for me is just acknowledging that they're showing up. Like for me, that's one of my biggest things. Thank you for showing up. This is the hardest part, is to show up. And then as we go through the class, it's just, standing up and opening up and empowering yourself through all this amazing energy that we're dancing in. We're not inside. We are outside on the water with this energy, like this office right now. It's so exciting. But a lot of people need help opening up, and it's okay, and nobody's watching. And I say that a lot too, like nobody's watching. I don't even, I need glasses to see y'all. Like, it's really, even though they have no idea that people that are walking by are all watching. But it's just, and you can do it, and just amazing. I show up, and then they feel like, rain or shine, we teach Zumba. So even if it's raining, we're there. I'm there. Even if I'm by myself, which I have never showed up during thunder, lightning, all these storms, tsunami warning, and people are showing up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are the stormtroopers. I'm making sure it's like right now. But just people that are kind of down or are not feeling super feminine or going through some really tough stuff in life. I mean, really tough stuff. And I get anonymous letters that said, just to let you know, I came because I knew you were going to show up, so I had to show up. And I'm like, oh, that is so huge. And breast cancer survivors and people that have been through a lot of stuff where they've mentally and physically been beaten down. So I'm like, I'm here.
Yep,
so I always say I'm here, but I need them as much as they appreciate me being there.
That's a really good point. And I think our team, I always tell them to be the example, and obviously you are, and you guys are there for each other, and I tell the team the same thing. So I think that's perfect.
We're a big team. I couldn't do it without them.
Yeah, for sure. Have you ever had because even in day-to-day work, if people are like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. How do you motivate someone? What's your way of motivating someone that's like, gosh, Jen, I really don't know if I can keep this up, or I don't know if I could do it?
Yes, I say you can do it. You just have to show up. And then we'll both get through it together. I am definitely you can do it. We're going to do it. Let's do it. Like we team.
Yep. So, and then they turn around and they're like, oh yeah. And like a few classes, they're like, I guess I could do it.
Yes. Yeah. And they do say like, I can't believe I only thought I was going to be coming 2 times a week, and now I'm here 4 times, 5 times. And I'm like, yep, I notice and I see you showed up. So let's go. Let's awesome. Do it. Even if you show up, as long as you show up, even if you're there for 30 minutes, that's fine, and you don't make the whole thing, but just show up.
Exactly.
And then we go. And it's so fun.
Yeah, it sounds great. And I think that's showing up is a really great example of today's lesson. The lesson for the day.
Yes, most
is
definitely.
Absolutely that. So awesome. I love it. So thinking about our audience again, in closing, I have a question for you. We've had different athletes and different coaches, on our podcast. And there's so many life lessons, business lessons that can be learned. And if you reflect back, and those things kind of apply to the day-to-day, like I said, in all these areas of your life, what would you say is one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned as a coach, as an instructor, doing what you've done over the last 12 plus years?
I think the biggest lesson for me is that I super doubted myself that I wouldn't be able to do it, and I did it. Like, I am doing it, and I'm really proud of myself for really, I had a lot of coaching from my husband, mostly from my husband, and he kept saying, you can do it. I'm like, oh. So I am so proud of myself that I'm doing it, and I think that's why I recognize every single person out there that they're doing it too. So I'm so similar to everyone that says that they couldn't do it. I'm doing it, and we're doing it together. So I just think that's one of the biggest life lessons is just go for it. Just push and do your best. Mm-hmm. And be excited. Be excited to be doing your best. And know that that's all that, you can do. Like, that's all you can give is your best.
I love that. Very great. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I guess I need to try Zumba at some point. I'm going to walk by shopping and be like, okay, yeah. I guess I'll just jump on in. I can't picture it. Do they have regular clothes on? And they're just like, okay, I'll just.
It's a complete, workout outfit. Tights and a shirt. Okay. Or some people do shorts.
Well, I'm just thinking of the person walking by shopping and going like, oh, okay.
No, cool. It's really good. You can come up front to the back, there you go.
There'll be a spot up there. I'll be like, all right, everyone is watching. I'm just saying. No, but that would be really fun. I've known a lot of people that have done it and fallen in love with it. And I've also, it's almost like you said, like this subculture where there's just all these people and they go on these big trips together and then,
all new friends. You see each other at Costco and, everywhere shopping. So it is really, really, really fun.
I love it. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, Jen, so much for being here. I feel like I've walked away with some new inspiring moments and definitely some positive energy. So I appreciate that. And that is another episode of the Athlete Series. So thank you.
Thank you.